Hey everybody, Will Brink here, brinkzone.com. Here wearing my handy dandy ISSN t-shirt, which if you're not part of the ISSN, International Society of Sports Nutrition, you're doing it wrong. And I've been part of that group since their inception and know the people that started it pretty well. And their position papers are some of the best, definitely the best you're going to find on things like protein intakes and for athletes. So that's just a shout out to them. It says this video will have nothing to do with them, but just a quick shout out to my friends at the ISSN. And like I said, I went to the conference in Fort Lauderdale. So this video is going to sort of be, I think, something of almost a continuation or a part two in the sense of the last video I just did on Whey and undenatured Whey and why that's important and what that's all about, so that people really want to understand what's important about undenatured Whey, what does the term mean and all that. If you have not watched that, I'll put that underneath this video as a link. It will also be at the end also of this video that you can jump to. You don't have to watch that one to understand this one per se, but I think you'll find it a good sort of 1-2 topic to cover. So I'm not going to go too deeply as far as my interest and background in colostrum, because I do that with Whey in the other video. What I will say is that, of course, as someone who has been researching and writing about Whey for 30 years, obviously colostrum is not a new topic to me. Again, I'm seeing a lot of recent videos. It seems like colostrum's kind of come back on the radar and it's getting a bunch of attention again. This is a topic that I've been looking at interest for, like I say, 30 years or so. Milk proteins, dairy proteins, in general, obviously casein and so forth, but Whey with a subset, a colostrum, been a major interest of mine. So, why hasn't anybody heard, or at least from me, really talking about colostrum when you can find many of my Whey articles online on my site? You can find my Whey videos here. And what happened to colostrum? So to understand that, we have to go basically to the Wayback Machine. Of course, again, when I started to research dairy proteins and Whey and colostrum and all that, what I really came to the conclusion about colostrum at that time was a couple of important things. So, again, like we're talking, mid 90s, something like that. One, the main problems of colostrum at that time was the production of colostrum. So, colostrum, what is colostrum? I mean, assuming most people know what colostrum, but again, I'll put some links underneath for people who want to get into the weeds so we can just kind of jump ahead. Colostrum is basically what is referred to as the first milk. It's literally the first thing that comes out of mammalian milk, comes out of cows. It's like the first day. And even on day 2 and day 3, it's not pure colostrum. It's already being introduced, more normal milk, and even day 2, 3. So the real problem with colostrum when I started to look into it was more the productions, not whether colostrum had value, whether colostrum was interesting, that type of thing. The real issue at that time, which made me sort of put colostrum on the back burner, I figured, what colostrum's time, will come in terms of the problems, but it wasn't because I didn't think colostrum had potential real benefits. It was more of the production. So problem number one was, of course, anybody could claim that they were giving you, literally colostrum that the one first day, first milking. Anybody could claim it and sell it as such, but you didn't know. I mean, there was no way of checking this. Two, refrigeration. For colostrum to preserve the bioactives in colostrum, which there's a lot, it has to be gotten the first day. It's got to be chilled down right at the source. You're not like to put it in a truck and drive it to another state and chill it. No, you've got to do it right there at the time of extraction. Do it properly and all that. So that was problem number 2, because you didn't know. People would make claims, of course, that they were giving you the bestest colostrum, but most of the colostrum, let me just sum up to say the production realities of the times, that most of the colostrum was sold was garbage. You had no way of knowing if it was legit colostrum. It's not inexpensive stuff as you may imagine because it comes in limited supply. So my interests with colostrum were there, but I really just kind of put it away and said, look, someday, like whey, we already knew the whey industry really adopted how to process and produce whey that is biologically active. To understand all that, you got to watch the other video. But colostrum, I guess I kind of put it away. Now, as sort of proof of that, and maybe to the benefit of people watching this, my ebook, Bodybuilding Revealed, which I sold many thousands of copies of back in the day. Again, I was definitely one of the early adopters of ebooks. Again, I don't know, late 90s, I guess, something like that, maybe a little early 2000s, but it was a long time ago. I mean, over 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, I had a book called Bodybuilding Revealed and Weight Loss Revealed. And Bodybuilding Revealed was a PDF. Again, we didn't have any security. God, I got something in my throat here. So we really didn't have security. So what I do now is I give it away for free. I will link that below too. If you want a free copy of Bodybuilding Revealed, it's 500 plus pages. It covers supplements, it covers training, it covers nutrition. The reason I don't sell it anymore, so basically what happened, it's a bit dated. I'm gonna just be honest with you. The supplement info in Bodybuilding Revealed is still really good. Again, there's been lots of studies obviously since I covered it. But most of the stuff, my opinions and stuff, pretty much are the same. I think there's a few that I would maybe change my opinions of, but most of them are solid. The nutrition advice is solid, but dated. There's been lots of studies, that I could update, but nobody would go wrong following the nutrition advice and bodybuilding advice. It's just a bit dated. The training advice is solid. There's a whole training section by Charles Poliquin, so on and so forth. So you can go and download Bodybuilding Revealed. You can go look at what my opinion was of colostrum over 20 years ago. Now, remember, it's not the same as it is today. So don't read Bodybuilding Revealed and say, well, that's how Will feels about it in 2022. But just so you can see, this has been on my radar a long time. And at the time, you will see that I wrote that I thought it had a lot of promise, interesting, but not really ready for prime time due to the things that I mentioned. And finally, the final problem of colostrum at the time was, like a lot of things, way too many promises were made as to it fixing every single thing that ailed you without any real data. And I think, like a lot of times, marketers and stuff get online with something. They want to blast it out and make a lot of money, and they really don't care what they do to the industry, what they do to the product. And I think colostrum, along with some other stuff, but colostrum, they kind of ruined the goodwill of colostrum at the time by claiming, basically it would cure everything that ails you. So the production problems and that pretty much had me put colostrum on the back burner. And I will have to admit that I think I probably put it on the back burner a little too long. I should have probably picked up colostrum a few years ago. But recently, again, I only have so much time in the day, like all of you. I spend all day, if I'm not doing something else, reading studies and going down rabbit holes of things that interest me. Of course, the last 3 years I've spent reading endless COVID-related papers and so on and so forth. So forgive me on being maybe a little late to the return of the party of colostrum, because normally I'm ahead of the curve. But as I can say, there's so many things I can read. So I think I actually should have gotten on the colostrum a few years ago. To that end, I think colostrum is now coming back to be its due date is here. I think you're going to be hearing a lot more about colostrum, the benefits of colostrum. There is quite a bit of data about colostrum that, frankly, when I started to get back to digging into it, I was actually surprised there was more than I was expecting. I'll link to a recent review paper, pretty good on it. I mean, I'm not going to list a bunch of stuff underneath there. If you guys want to, this is sort of an overview. I do plan to follow up in the future with more in-depth discussions of colostrum benefits, studies. I have to write an article, I think, with sources and all that. But this is just kind of I just came back from the Supply Side West show, big conference, industry conference, as I mentioned in the last. And sat down and spoke at length with a number of colostrum producers, coming online. One that maybe stuck out a little more than the others as far as quality control and production and all that. But colostrum is going to be on your radar, sooner than later. And I definitely saw that. It's one of the trends I definitely saw at the show, and kind of made me come back and go down a rabbit hole to see what's going on there. So just this is more kind of a just a FYI on colostrum. So there's an obvious question that I expect would be people watching this would be asking right now. Okay, so what would be colostrum versus whey? And that is not as easy a question as it sounds. I will say that if you read my articles on whey, you watch my videos on whey, if whey is quite a complicated protein, it's a complicated topic. I do my best to kind of, again, keep it approachable. And for those who want to go down, read the data and read the studies, they can do that. I will tell you that whey looks simple compared to colostrum. This is one of the problems of a protein like colostrum. Actually, it's not a protein; it's really a whole food, and that's one of the problems. So, how would we look at colostrum versus whey? I'm just going to give you the real overview. I view whey as obviously an excellent protein replacement that is also a bioactive functional food with all kinds of potential health benefits, anti-aging benefits, immune boosting benefits. I view colostrum really as a straight functional medicinal food that happens to have some protein in it because it's not real high in protein. You can make it higher in protein. That's another issue. There's something called skim colostrum. But I think doing colostrum right, me personally, from a medicinal perspective, I don't think you should use skim. I think you should whole colostrum, which includes the lipids. There's a lot of bioactive lipids with a lot of benefits. Our sort of tendency in the industry to sort of keep wanting to concentrate things into more protein is missing the real benefit. So I view colostrum really as a straight medicinal functional food that can have potentially all sorts of, again, immune enhancing capabilities. It has a tremendous number of bioactive compounds in it, more so than whey. It has a lot of similar compounds. Don't get me wrong. You're talking about things like lactoferrin, of which if you read my stuff, I'm a big fan. There's links in the other video. So there's a whole bunch of bioactive peptides, but there's a whole bunch of additional bioactives in colostrum that are also very sensitive to production. Will probably add an additional benefit as far as immune support, disease prevention and stuff. And you got to be careful with that, of course, on the internet to make function claims. I got to be careful there. So that's sort of the difference to me. I view whey as a functional food, or as an excellent protein replacement with a lot of functional capabilities. At functional, I mean by health improvement, health enhancement. Whereas I view colostrum as pretty much straight medicinal type food, which happens to have some protein. I hope that makes some sense. Like I say, I'm going to put a link below, which has a nice review along the many potential benefits of colostrum. So here's another way to sort of view colostrum. Because it's the very, very first milk that comes out, the intent of colostrum in infants, human infants, in baby cows and so forth, it's literally an entire passive immune system handed off to the infant to then add immunity, passive immunity, to help the infant, the baby cow, the baby goat, whatever, to generate their own immunity, to get their stomach working, to get their bacteria working. It's quite a complicated, as you expect, but it's literally, in a sense, if you were to think of colostrum as almost an entire passive immune system handed off to the infant. And this is why, one reason of many reasons, but why that breastfed children, breastfed kids, are much better off than formula-fed babies. If any pediatrician or anybody that does research on this will tell you that any mother, if they can breastfeed, absolutely should breastfeed to the health of the infant and so forth. That's a no. I don't think there's any debate in that anymore. But somebody might pick up and go, "Oh, I read this paper that says otherwise." I will tell you that in my many travels, if talking to research scientists and pediatricians and so forth, the data strongly supports breastfeeding, and that's why. So Now, one of the objections some people will have to colostrum, and it's a legit objection from a science perspective. Say, well, sure, well, you're talking about infants, you're talking about baby cows. They don't have mature digestive systems, so sure, all these beneficial peptides, all IgG and IgA and all that, gets right into the baby's system and gives them an immune system and all that. Whereas you're an adult, you've got an intact digestive system, which of course can, break down that stuff. It's not getting in, it's not the same thing. And that's true. And that's a correct assessment, but it's not that simple. As always, it's not that simple. There are definitely bioactive peptides that are utilized by adult humans out of colostrum. Some of them may not make it through, and so forth. However, this is the crux of it, in a sense, to me, that even those bioactive peptides are, there's even hormones, there's IGF-1. It's a long list. Even the stuff that doesn't make it through into circulation is extremely beneficial to the gut health itself. That to me is the big one with colostrum. Now, there's again a lot of potential benefits with colostrum that need to be further studied, but the one that I am very comfortable with and very confident of, as far as is recommending colostrum to adults, right away, is anybody with gut issues, severe gut, IBS, Crohn's disease, inflammatory stuff. That is the one that really jumps out at me as the most obviously beneficial. It has really good data to it. A lot of good objective, subjective feedback of people. And there are millions and millions of people out there, as I'm sure some of you experience personally, who have serious gut-related problems. And as far as gut healing, as far as probably lowering local inflammation of gut at the local tissue level and perhaps the systemic level, that is, total whole body, that one to me is a no-brainer. And so that one I feel like and there's a lot of other things we could talk about. I'm trying to, again, keep this fairly simple. Just sort of keep a sort of the 80,000 foot overview of this topic before at some point in the near future, maybe I go into more details. I'll probably do an article, like I say, that will have a bunch of additional sources and get into this. But I will, like I say, I'll give you a good paper. What else can I say? So I think colostrum's day, as far as larger acceptance, even maybe within, again, the medical community, alternative medical community. There is some studies also. Let me back up just a little more. Also, there are studies suggesting that it is beneficial to performance, and beneficial to athletes as far as recoup and maybe reducing overtraining syndrome. But we know Whey does that too. I was even part of a study that was on overtraining syndrome and found that Whey was a benefit to overtraining syndrome. I don't know if you were to compare. Excuse me. I got a frog. I don't know if one was to compare. I'm not redoing this entire video to get that coughing out. So, I'm sorry. I'm unprofessional. Sue me. Okay. I don't know if one was to compare Whey to colostrum in athletics, as far as like. Okay. People, it's one of those days. It's Monday. I do not know if one was to compare Whey and colostrum in things like overtraining syndrome and athletics and so forth, whether colostrum would be superior to Whey. There, I got it out. But there is some, and you'll see in Bodybuilding Reveal that I do mention that. I'm not that convinced and that sure that there's going to be a big benefit to colostrum to athletes that would be above that of Whey. If you're going to do such a study, in my view, you probably need to do Whey versus colostrum versus control to see if you get additional benefits from colostrum. And you may. I don't know. The difference also about colostrum, of course, is it costs more than Whey. And so, again, it's sort of a medicinal food. You're probably not going to be taking the doses of colostrum that you might be taking with Whey. I mean, most people taking Whey are taking like a 20-gram scoop, maybe twice, 3 times a day. I mean, so you're looking at 20, 40 20, 30, 40, 50 grams of protein a day from whey, which would be prohibitively expensive in colostrum, and you also probably don't need that much. Again, what we don't have is graded dose studies where you took, I don't know, let's say somebody with Crohn's or something, and one group got 5 grams of colostrum, the other one got 10, the other one got 20, the other one got 30, to see, clinically speaking, where the benefit, at what dose is the benefit. We don't really know. Dose wise in the studies tends to be all over the place. But again, I think consistently using colostrum for people with inflammatory gut issues, and there's obviously a bunch of them, should be very beneficial. Like I say, I think there's a lot of other areas we could go. We got to talk about things like glutathione. Again, there's not comparative way to colostrum studies that we would need to say, well, is it worth the push, to go colostrum for glutathione for whey? Probably not. But again, the number of bioactives in colostrum is considerable, and a whole bunch of them have not even been researched. But my understanding, at least from the show and talking to some dairy scientists and research scientists that I know, in terms of production, there are some large companies that really have their act together in terms of getting that first milk guaranteed, that right from the single day, and immediately chilling that colostrum down, and then drying it under low temperatures, and producing a high quality, consistent colostrum product that people can trust. As with whey, they're not going to be all the same either. I mean, I can't go and tell you, because I haven't gone to these producers of colostrum, just like I haven't been every whey producer, to say this one has higher levels of IgG and lactoferrin than that one, and so forth. I can't do that, but I do know that there are definitely multiple companies that are going to be producing, or are producing, and are offering some very high grade colostrum that they have gotten down the production quality, to a standard and a high consistency. And just like whey, I'm sure there's differences in how they approach it, and there's some tweaks, and some of them, have some patents on how they approach it, and I'll try to get into that more. Okay, so I think that's all I have to say on colostrum, on the big picture of colostrum. Check out some of the links below. Obviously, like this video, because it's a pretty good video besides my coughing fit, and subscribe. And of course, you should always check out some Alpha Joe. I always forget to talk about Alpha Joe, but where's my cans? There's my cans of Alpha Joe. Tastes good, feels good, it's good for you, and designed by yours truly. So I'll see you all on the Brink Zone. I hope this is good info, and leave some comments below, my friends.